Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, I don't have video here.
There'll be a delay.
Okay, sounds good. Good afternoon. I'll call to order the meeting of the New Ulm Public Utilities for the month of March 2020. Please bear with us today. We have most of our commissioners appearing by telephone. Commissioner Shaughness, I believe, is the only commissioner present in person at this time. First item on our agenda today is to review the minutes from the last utilities meeting on February 25th, 2020.
President Heine, if the commissioners are on the phone, wouldn't mind identifying themselves at the onset of the meeting, please?
Oh, good idea. Before we move on to that first item on the agenda, can we just hear from each of the other commissioners? Sorry.
Sean Finland on the phone.
Seth Visser's on the phone.
Shannon Hillesign's on the phone.
Okay, thank you.
I would make the motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting held February 25th, 2020.
I'll second.
So that's a motion by Commissioner Shaughness and second by Commissioner Hillesheim to approve the minutes of the February 25, 2020 meeting. Do we have any discussion on that motion?
No, but Linda, I do have to take a roll call vote for all votes. So,
Okay. Okay, sounds good.
are we ready?
Any discussion on the motion? Okay, all in favor of the motion indicate, how do we want to handle the roll call vote? Do you want to just call us by name?
Yep, I will. So,
Okay.
Commissioner Finland,
Yes.
Commissioner Hillesheim,
Yes.
Commissioner Shaughness,
Yes.
Commissioner Visser,
Yes.
and President Heine.
Yes. Motion carries. The next item on the agenda is to review the monthly utility operations for the month of March. Director.
Yes, I have just a couple comments to make, mainly on the having to do with a couple of the projects that are currently in progress. Just mention that the Integrated Resource Plan project, we had planned on a presentation this month. That's been put on hold due to the current travel restrictions. So Black and Veatch was not able to come, so we will set that up at a future commission date. Also, just to mention, there will be an item later in the agenda, but for the MISO, the recognition of transmission ownership, we have filed. The filing has been completed, and we've had the first conversation with MISO on that project. The only other thing that I maybe wanted to identify was what the utility is doing with regard to the COVID-19 situation. And as of March 19th, all PUC facilities have been closed to the public, but access to our staff can be made through phone, email, or our website. And all employees that are not on self-quarantine are working at this time. Workstations are being disinfected several times per day, and hand sanitizer is stationed throughout the buildings in convenient locations. Staff is practicing social distancing as much as possible by holding virtual and phone meetings, and we are limiting building-to-building contact by employees. All non-essential work has been postponed until further notice to limit the exposure to and from the public, and this would include meter changeouts and the disconnection of utilities. Late payment penalties have been waived. There will be a agenda item on that coming up here. And many of the essential projects that we have right now are still proceeding. However, we are finding most of our consultants and vendors are working from home at this time. So unless you have any questions on the director's report, that's all I had.
This is Commissioner Finland. I'll offer the motion to receive and order filed the report regarding monthly utility operations.
Second.
Commissioner Visser will second.
I heard a second by Commissioner Shaughnessy already, I think.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Is there any discussion on the motion to approve, to receive and order filed the report regarding monthly utility operations? Okay, would you like to call the roll?
Yes. Commissioner Fingland?
Yes.
Commissioner Hillesheim?
Yes.
Commissioner Shaughnessy?
Yes.
Commissioner Visser?
Yes.
President Heine?
Yes, motion carries. The next item on the agenda is to recognize our Employee of the Month, Scott Altman. Director Manderfield, do you have any comments to share regarding Mr. Altman's work?
I do. Scott Altman, he is a mechanic welder within our gas department. He is the Employee of the Month for February 2020. Scott Altman has been employed by the Public Utilities since July of 2018, and with his employment, he brings years of experience in underground excavation. And that experience has given all of our employees a better insight to safer equipment operation and excavation procedures. Scott needs a little direction, and he asks questions to make sure that projects are completed properly. So congratulations to Scott Altman.
Yes, and thank you, Scott. Do we have a motion to recognize Mr. Altman?
This is Commissioner Visser. I'll make a motion to recognize Scott Altman, the mechanic and welder in the gas department, as Employee of the Month for February 2020.
This is Commissioner Fingland. I will second.
Is there any discussion on the motion to recognize Mr. Altman as mechanic welder in the gas department as Employee of the Month for February 2020? If not, we can call the roll.
Commissioner Fingland?
Yes.
Commissioner Hillesheim?
Yes.
Commissioner Shaughnessy?
Yes.
Commissioner Visser?
Yes.
President Heine?
Yes, the motion carries. And thank you again to Mr. Altman. Next, we need to hold a public hearing to discuss amendment to Regulation 111 to allow partial payments. Nicole, are you presenting on that?
President Heine, I think there's something about Thomas Garais first.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. Staff report regarding Mr. Gary's years of service.
Yes, we would like to offer a resolution to Tom Garais for 12 years of service within the New Ulm Public Utility Commission. Tom was the electric technician within the electric distribution department, and he served with the utilities from August 25th, 2008 to March 6, 2020, and he has retired from service.
I will offer the resolution.
Go ahead.
This is Commissioner Hillison. I'll offer the resolution and waive the reading commending Thomas Garais for nearly 12 years of service with the New Ulm Public Utilities Commission.
Second.
Do we have a second?
Commissioner Shaughnessy seconds.
Okay, thank you. And do you want to call the roll, Nicole?
Yes. Commissioner Fingland?
Yes.
Commissioner Hillesheim?
Yes.
Commissioner Shaughnessy?
Yes.
Commissioner Visser?
Yes.
President Heine?
Yes. And thank you to Mr. Garais. Okay, now we will conduct a public I assume we need to conduct the public hearing for Regulation 111. I think the information statement says we need to close the public hearing, but I assume we need to first open the public hearing.
Yes. This request is it's actually something we started doing right now due to the pandemic, but it's something we'd like to continue going forward, and that's collecting partial payments online. When we initially started collecting payments online with credit cards, we didn't want to accept partial payments online just because we were afraid there'd be confusion about when people want to do agreements for and partially pay their bill to move them forward for a shorter period of time. We've seen that this shouldn't be an issue based on the processes we have in place, and we're seeing more and more traffic in City Hall with people who want to make partial payments. just because they maybe didn't get their current payment paid on time, so now their next bill is out there and they don't want to pay both months at once. So we'd like to open this up. It will I think it will ease traffic in City Hall, and it will save people that trip if they don't need to be here. We have not received any public comment regarding the request or the issue.
Okay, well, I'll offer the motion to close the public hearing, waive the reading, and adopt the resolution amending Regulation 111 to allow partial payments to be made online. This is Commissioner Finland.
Commissioner Visser will second.
Do we have any discussion on the proposed resolution? If not, we can call the roll.
I think it's a good idea.
Commissioner Finland,
Yes, that was Commissioner Finland, and yes to the roll.
Commissioner Hillesheim,
Yes.
Commissioner Shaunis,
Yes.
Commissioner Visser,
Yes.
President Heine.
Yes, the resolution passes. The next item on the agenda also relates to relief concerning our pandemic situation, to waive penalties and suspend disconnects for a period of time. Director Manderfeld?
Yes, we're seeing that across Minnesota as well as the nation, a lot of utilities are recognizing that COVID-19 virus may cause some economic hardship for our customers. And so the New Ulm Public Utilities would like to modify our disconnection policy at this time and suspend all disconnections and late payment penalties for our residential and commercial customers until April 30th, 2020. We will still send the utility bills out as well as any disconnection notices. However, we will not disconnect services. After April 30th, the New Ulm PUC will work with customers for payment arrangements. We will, as Nicole said, we'll also accept partial payments of utility bills to help our customers out. And if there's a business shutdown continues, the New Ulm Public Utilities will look to extend the deferral period for these utility bills. Again, the situation is rapidly changing, as we all know, and so New Ulm Public Utilities will modify the disconnection policy to the situation at hand. So we are asking that the Commission allow the New Ulm Public Utilities to suspend disconnection and then also waive any late payment penalties on our customers until April 30th.
Okay, thank you. And I note that you also included in the report that we're fortunate to be financially in a stable position so that we can manage this proposal.
Yes, we have adequate reserves in place that would soften the impact of that, yes.
I will make the motion.
This is Commissioner Hillesheim, and I'll authorize the New Ulm Public Utilities to waive the penalties and suspend disconnect to residential and commercial customers until April 30th, 2020, due to the declaration of COVID-19 peacetime emergency.
Second.
This is Commissioner Visser. I'll second.
Okay, is there any discussion on the motion? If not, we can call the roll.
Commissioner Finland,
Yes.
Commissioner Hillesheim,
Yes.
Commissioner Shaunis,
Yes.
Commissioner Visser,
Yes.
President Heine.
Yes. Motion carries. The next item is to consider authorizing the city manager to authorize additional proposals concerning our efforts to become a MISO transmission owner. Mr. Persig? I see.
Yeah, thank you. Again, this is kind of an addendum to an item we brought to you August 15th, or was dated August 15th, to do the Phase 2, and which would entail filing with the MISO system our petition to become a MISO transmission owner. Since then, we've had our first meeting about this, and they have kind of changed the process a little bit and informed us they would like us to talk to some of our potential colleagues and partners in this, such as Excel and potentially Great River Energy. So that kind of changes the scope and the intent of what PSC had originally proposed of, and it doesn't really fit into the phase 3 of this, which we'll be seeing hopefully by the middle of summer. We don't know exactly when phase 3 will be coming, because this is kind of a, well, obviously with the pandemic problems and with MISO kind of having their own league time and stuff, we're not real sure when everything's going to happen now. But this, they did say in our phone call that we seem to have a reasonable case, and they wanted us to do a little more research on making some overtures to our colleagues on this. So with that, I'll take any questions.
My question is, so when it was bid out, nobody knew about this addendum item?
Well, this was kind of a deal where they proposed to us, we read how it was supposed to go, and everybody read how it was supposed to go, and in the phone call, we found some things in some filings that we need to investigate, and they want us to look into that before we continue on.
I think with this particular project, because it's not, it's unique to each individual utility as to what type of resources you have and how the whole thing will work together. It's not, I think when, we were going through and doing the phone call, the idea was that it looks good, but there's still some more research that MISO would like us to do. And so we've done everything up until this point that MISO is requiring of us. And we've done everything that PSC has felt that was needed, but we're coming to a point where there's some additional research, there's some additional requirements that they're asking of us. And so we could just throw it into phase 3, but it didn't really fit real well when we brought the original proposal to you, when we identified phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. So we would prefer to keep it separate and allocate some additional funds to that, because the phase 2 is getting, it's close to being extinguished, or the money. And so that's what we're
This is Commissioner Visser. Are phase 2 and phase 3 budgeted for? This says it was an unbudgeted item.
This whole thing, we kind of came to this after our budgeting cycle started. Phase 3, I believe, is in the 2020 budget, but when we started this in 19, it was kind of unbudgeted, and nobody really saw us going through and doing this at that time. We kind of started investigating and finding out that other utilities with a similar case like ours are applying to be transmission owners, and we learned some other things, that there are some loopholes in their 7-factor test. So we wanted to get on this as soon as possible to make our case, because there is some revenue potentially tied to this if we're successful with this.
So to clarify, this is Commissioner Heine. Dan, you're saying this wasn't budgeted for in 2019, so phase 1 and 2 weren't budgeted for, but
Right.
It is budgeted in 2020?
I did not look it up today before I came to the meeting, but we did know we were doing phase 3 at the budgeting time this year, and I do believe we got that in the budget.
Right. Are there any other questions of Dan about this proposal, or does anybody wish to make a motion?
Maybe one last question. This is Commissioner Visser. Given this, if this is approved, would this potentially lead into any more, or would this hop rate, after this work is completed, would it hop to phase 3?
Our intent is after this, we will definitely be in phase 3.
Just to clarify, assuming that everything goes as planned, each phase was developed to stop if the environment wasn't going to work for us or for MISO. And so we could potentially get to phase 2 and decide, or phase 2B, and decide that MISO may decide, well, we didn't make a case. We're not expecting that, but it could potentially happen.
Yeah, if they give us some bad news for phase 3, we won't come to you with phase 3 then. We just won't do it.
Okay.
So that's kind of why this has stayed broken up also, is so if we got some bad news along the way, we could stop and say, well, that's the end of our expenditures.
Okay, any other questions?
I will make the motion to authorize the city manager to accept the proposal of $8,000 from Power System Engineering Incorporated, PSC, for the mid-level assessment, Phase 2B, of the viability of New Ulm becoming a MISO transmission owner.
This is Commissioner Hillis, I'll second.
Do we have any discussion on that motion? If not, we can call the roll.
Commissioner Fingland?
Yes.
Commissioner Hillesheim?
Yes.
Commissioner Shaunis?
Yes.
Commissioner Visser?
Yes.
President Heine?
Yes. Motion carried. Next item is to review an interconnect regulator replacement.
Yes, this will be presented by Dan Persig.
Okay, this is a proposal from Utility Safe Design, Inc., USDI, to replace and retrofit our two main interconnects, both one out on KC Road and one at the Goosedown letdown station. This project was budgeted in the amount of $50,000 for this year to do the engineering, with $150,000 in the budget for next year to do the construction and installation. But since the budgeting time, they have looked at the project. It was going to be adding some more piping and stuff, and found a better, more efficient way to do it. And now we will be able to do, as you can see with their USDI's proposal, we'll be doing the engineering, design, fabrication, testing, and installation, plus buying the regulators for $38,800. So we should be all done with this project for $51,600, and that means we won't be spending any of that $150,000 next year that we were planning on. So this is significantly cheaper, more efficient way to give us some redundancy for our high-pressure gas system. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer anything I can.
This is Commissioner Heine. So, Dan, you're saying the total project is still going to run about $38,800, but today you're requesting the engineers?
No, the
Study?
regulators, the regulators will be another $38,800. This is everything other than the regulators. So when you add the two
Okay, so-
together, the total project cost will be about $51,600 if I did my math right.
Okay, but today you're requesting the $13,800 for the engineering,
That is correct. The
and you'll be
USDA,
back to us later, I suppose, for the regulators.
that is correct.
This is Commissioner Finland. I will offer the motion to approve the engineer's estimate for $13,800 from Utility Safety and Design Incorporated, USDI, for the engineering and installation of new regulators for the Hutchinson Interconnect and the Goosetown Regulating Station.
This is Commissioner Visser, I'll second.
With the motion and a second, is there any discussion of the motion? With no further discussion, we can call the roll.
Commissioner Fingland?
Yes.
Commissioner Hillesheim?
Yes.
Commissioner Shaunis?
Yes.
Commissioner Visser?
Yes.
President Heine.
Yes, the motion carries. Okay, the next item on our agenda is to hear from a resident. I understand we have Jennifer and Denny Wallach available today.
That is correct.
So I'm sorry, I'm not. Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
Okay, hi, my name is Jennifer Wallach. My husband Denny is here as well. Just wanted to come before you and share, I guess I don't know if you got our slideshow as a pre-read?
Yep.
Okay.
We did, and thank you so much.
Okay, I just don't want to exhaust the slides, I guess, for you. I want to be mindful of your time. So, basically, we wanted to come to you today with an incident that happened for us. I just got to advance through the slides here. Our family was impacted by a major sewer line repair that happened this February. And we know the city's position on the homeowner and the city repair and those guidelines. But we feel that if the city would have taken a different action, that our family would have been spared a significant expense. And the city also does not offer any options for families with the burden of the cost of a sewer repair, especially something like ours, with being able to put that towards your assessments. So the burden becomes going to the bank and trying to get the money. So we wanted to just come and share our story and then just talk about how, if the city would have taken some different steps, how that could have impacted our family. So I do have in here a timeline. Again, I don't want to exhaust it, but we live on a side street in New Ulm in between State and Washington. Our lot is the back half of a State Street lot. So when our sewer was installed, it wasn't at today's code. So our sewer line comes out of our home and runs 300 feet down to Washington. We live actually closer to State Street than we do to Washington. We had no idea that that's how our sewer line was set up until this year when we had problems with our sewer line. We did find through this that PVC pipe at some point had been installed, so we didn't have our original 1953 line. However, the city had no permits or information available for when that did happen or when that was switched out, and we do understand how those laws and guidelines change over the time. However, the city did still have our lines running down the boulevard. So at some point, a decision was made to run our sewer line down the center of 6th Street. So it no longer was going under a grass area. It was now down the middle of an asphalt street. Some of our neighbors shared with us that at some point there was a backflow issue from rain in our space and some sewer lines were changed. But again, because we don't have any documentation, we don't know who did that repair or how that happened. But in the fall of 2018, our street was repaired. It was completely torn up and replaced. The city did notify us of that, but if we would have been told about that, our sewer line, the side street issue, we would have had our sewer line reviewed and updated at that time. But we were not told. So here's our issue. I already mentioned our sewer line comes out and goes a significant way away from our house. But there was back pitching. I am not a plumber, so I'm just going to relay what was shared. But it basically wasn't graded correctly. So it wasn't graded correctly at the sewer line. Also just with settling, and I'm sure because it's down the middle of the street, that probably impacts it as well. But it created this belly. It's probably had been there for some time, but kind of working through, but we weren't aware of it until we have teenage boys who are showering every morning. It somehow became now a problem. We had to replace that entire sewer line. We also were hoping to sleeve our driveway portion because it comes out at an angle, of course, under concrete. But because it was built in 1953, the metal used at the time, post-war, meant that that's the one kind of line you cannot sleeve, which if you think about an artery, kind of put something in, blow it up, and then you don't have to tear up all your concrete. So we had to tear up all of that concrete. We do understand that the city expects you to replace from your house to your main line, but for most people, that's 4 feet from your house. That's usually a $10,000, $12,000 repair. Our family is paying $43,000 for that repair. So hearing about what you guys just approved, we could have paid for your Goosetown pumps, basically, and all that work that you guys were doing with our street repair. I think the frustrating part to us is that our street was torn up, and we are paying for our street to be torn up in 2018 and being assessed on our taxes, and now we are paying for that street again because we are responsible for that asphalt. To be candid, we bought our house in 2006. We did an appraisal on our home. It's increased nothing in value, really, but we had to refinance, and anything we did have in our home, we're now putting into our street. So my ask today, our family's ask, is that you educate homeowners. Unfortunately, through this experience, plumbers who have come to our house, construction workers who have come by said, oh, this is every side street in New Ulm. This happens to a lot of people. We feel like if our letter that we received telling us that we were having street repairs would have given us a heads up that construction on that sewer lines on side streets often might be longer than the average home, we would have had it looked at. We had no reason to look at it because we had no idea until it broke the significance of how far that repair went. If the city would have given us that heads up proactively, we could have looked into that, and we realized that the city has tight timelines to do their construction. However, if you put boundaries around that and gave people timetables, while that street is dirt, they could be saved a lot of money. I mean, our family alone, it would have been at least $15,000, maybe even more, that could have saved our family. I also have a second ask, and that is to see if the city can do anything to help us with repairing the asphalt on our street. So we would be responsible for the concrete that comes out of our driveway, for our curb, all of those pieces. But there's a 3-foot swath that runs down the middle of 6th Street that our family's responsible for. The city gets a better deal on asphalt than a private family. There's big city projects. I think it's Front Street is torn up the whole way. This feels like it would be an easy fix or something that could be tacked on to another project. It seems like it would be something little for the city, but would save our family $10,000, which would be significant for us. Are there any questions?
This is Commissioner Heine. Thank you so much for bringing this to our attention. I can say that we have already had a working session and talked about some of these things. We didn't really come to any conclusions, and I think we'll probably be talking about it some more.
Okay.
But I do absolutely sympathize with your situation. I've walked past your house. It's a beautiful home, and I'm a homeowner myself, so I'm so sorry and totally understand what a bill like this probably means to your family.
Thank you. Yeah, the sad thing is we wanted to remodel our kitchen and our living room and all these pieces, and the cost came out to be the same. So it's hard to know that we're just burying that in the street. So, okay.
Do any other commissioners have any questions for Ms. Wallach?
No, I want to thank Ms. Wallach for presenting what she presented. Very clear, very concise. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fingland. So I guess my one question is, if you guys are going to discuss further, what would be the timeline for us to understand if there would be an opportunity for us to get this to tack on to another street project? We don't, I mean, obviously you guys all know you're city people, you know that asphalt plants aren't going until summer. We are working with our contractor. They put fresh dirt in today to make sure as dirt settles, we're maintaining the road. I see a city truck drive by about every day checking how things are looking, which I totally appreciate and understand, and we want people to be safe. But I also want to be mindful of working with our contractor so we don't incur those other expenses if perhaps there's a chance for us to be alleviated.
Ms. Wallach, what does your timeline look like? And these are strange times. I'm reluctant to commit to a time for the city, but
yeah,
if you could give us some idea of what you're looking for.
Well, we don't really know because we're contingent on asphalt plants opening. I think when our contractor first said, they said expect late May at best or June because that's when concrete plants usually go. I mean, your people probably know better than me when those things happen. We're just hoping to be candid, kind of put this behind us and move forward and know our plan to move forward. So I mean, I would hope like maybe by your next meeting, which what is it, by the next meeting in April, if a decision could be made, that would probably be fine.
President Heine, this is Director Manderfeld. I think, we originally had a work session planned for this evening to discuss some items, but I think in light of the fact that everybody's on the telephone, I think that would be difficult. So I could propose that maybe we set up a work session for the next meeting, if at all possible, that we could actually discuss this with all of the commissioners present, if that would work for you.
That would work for me. And I'm also curious would this impact the need for us to contact the street department?
Yeah, we'll need to internally do some, we just received the presentation today, and so, we'll need to be discussing different options with the street department, because that would be, that potentially would be one way, it would be through them, I guess, that this would happen.
Right.
So, I could certainly talk.
Be interested to know what
I'm sorry, I could
cost would
certainly
be
talk with them prior to that.
Sorry, this is Commissioner Fingland. I certainly would be interested to know what our cost would be through the city in regards to fixing this problem. Whether or not that gets passed on to the homeowner, it would be interesting to know if we are significantly less than that $10,000. So as soon as that could be provided, it'd be greatly appreciated.
Sure. So we're talking about a potential work session on the same date as our next meeting, which is the fourth Tuesday in April.
That's correct. And we can do it either before the meeting or after, whichever you would prefer.
And Chris, I am open to, we don't know what's going to happen with COVID-19 and requirements and stuff via the governor. I am open to holding a work session via Zoom. I don't know if others are, or some other form of kind of teleconferencing, given that do work sessions all have to be broadcasted?
They do not, no.
They do need to be
Okay.
public.
We record them.
Right.
Right.
And they are public.
And some programs allow that.
I'm sorry? What was that,
Some
Commissioner
of the
Finley?
programs like Zoom, or some applications like Zoom, do allow for recording of meetings. So if we are still, a lot of us homebound at that point, if we want to do something earlier via Zoom, I certainly would be open to that. Just speaking for myself.
Sure. Well, I think for now we probably should just plan to set it on April 28th, and if there's, I don't know if that probably is the amount of time that might be needed for staff to do any additional research that might be needed before we can meet anyway. I personally would be available before the meeting if we wanted to meet at 3 or 3:30 on the 28th. Do the other commissioners know right now their schedule?
This is Commissioner Hillesheim. I would be free before the meeting.
This is Commissioner Fingland. I'm teaching from home, so I would be available before the meeting.
Yeah, this is Commissioner Visser. I would be available before the meeting as well.
Commissioner Shanis also.
Okay, so should we plan at 3 o'clock on the 28th for a work session to discuss this matter further?
That works for me, Commissioner Fingland.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
And if there's anything
And-
additional
and-
needed from me, please let me know, but I think the city's familiar. Probably they know the measurements better than me, so.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I would make the motion to receive an oral order filed presentation from resident at 713 6th Street South regarding the emergency repair of a sewer service, and to schedule a work session before April 28th commission meeting at 3 o'clock.
This is Commissioner Hillesheim, and I second.
Is there any discussion of that motion? If not, we can go ahead and call the roll.
Commissioner Fingland?
Yes.
Commissioner Hillesheim?
Yes.
Commissioner Shaunis?
Yes.
Commissioner Visser?
Yes.
President Heine?
Yes. And the motion carries. And the final item on our agenda is to consider our claims and estimates for the month.
This is Commissioner Fingland. I will offer the motion to accept the list of claims paid in the amount of $2,793,118.91 and approve the list of claims to be paid in the amount of $171,932.01.
Second.
This is Commissioner Visser. I'll second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion of the motion? If not, we can go ahead and call the roll.
Commissioner Fingland?
Yes.
Commissioner Hillesheim?
Yes.
Commissioner Shaunis?
Yes.
Commissioner Visser?
Yes.
President Heine?
Yes. Motion carries. That's the last item on the agenda. Unless anyone has any other comments, we will be adjourned.
And we are not doing the work session today. Is that, I got that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.